Morning everyone, it's Graham Healy. Happy Australia Day, the 26th of January 2025. And this year will be a complete revolution in Australia. Thank God that Donald Trump is now president of the greatest nation on the earth, and Australia will follow suit. Trump's agenda, and I've been a Trump supporter from day one, as you can see, which is behind this shoulder. There's a t-shirt there that I did up, I think about 2019. So Trump's come in for his second term, and you all know that Trump's agenda is serious business to re-sovereigntize the USA and drill, baby drill, as far as oil and gas is concerned. And he shut down renewables immediately. Now, on the Australian front, we've got Albo, who he's gone, with his ideology of globalism, so-called Labor, and also Greens, for goodness sake. Greens are being wiped out right across the world. Thank God for that, as their whole policies are all about destroying the sovereignty of nations and turning you into a great big global communist party. So, same as Labor. So the thing is, in Australia, what will happen, and the election will be announced very, very shortly, probably within the next week, I'd say. The federal election, my guess is, educated guess is, that'll be the end of March, beginning of April, and I've collaborated that with a few of my inner circle. So where do we go in Australia? Who do you vote for and all this? So as I say, people have asked me, how do you vote in the next federal election? Well, if you want Dutton will get in as Prime Minister. How long he stays in and isn't voted out by the Liberal Party, that's another question. I don't think he'll last that long. But the point is that Dutton still agrees with and has signed up to the Paris Agreement regarding renewable energy, and it's just destroying Australia's landscape. It doesn't produce anything positive, and to shut down the renewables, we simply just cut the funding. You see, they're not profitable, so they're funded by taxpayers' money. So, if you want to know more about that, you can go onto my website, riseupaustraliabrisbane.com, or just go straight on to Senator Rennick's website, the People First Party, or, you can have a look at One Nation's policies as well. Now, as I'm an advocate, in other words, I'm only advocating for policies that actually work. I'm only advocating for solutions to problems. I'm not talking personalities. I'm not talking, well, I used to vote for Labor all my life. God help you. I mean, I voted for Labor when Bob Hawke was in because I was a union rep back then. Then I run several small businesses, so I won't go down that road. But the perspectives change. And the reality is simply this: the two major parties are basically the same. Liberals have become a soft version of the Labor Party, and of course Greens are just a lunatic asylum. So at the end of the day, this is what I suggest. Now, I'm advocating at this stage of the game, and I've advocated since 2019, where I was a lead Senate candidate for Rise Up Australia, when Rise Up Australia was a registered party. I'm now an advocate. I still maintain the Rise Up Australia party website, or Rise Up Australia Advocacy, but I align myself with the senators who actually have the right policies for Australia. So number one is Senator Gerard Rennick, who has the in my opinion, and it's an educated opinion, he has the blueprint for the financial turnaround of Australia. Very much the same as Donald Trump. So, and of course, I'm also a fan, I'd say, of Malcolm Roberts as well. So, now, how do we vote? How do we vote? So this is quite simple, really. It looks complicated. I mean, when I was a Senate candidate in 2019, it was complicated to understand how things work, but I've been through all the process. I may run for the Senate again this year. I'm still thinking about that, the correct opportunity to open up. But at this point in the game, on Australia Day, this is my advice. Actually, it would be my advice no matter what I'm doing regarding the political scene. So, number one, you vote above the line. So above the line in the federal election. Now the reason why you vote above the line, and I've got it on my website, you can go into election 2025, click on that particular page, and I've explained this in more detail. The reason why you vote above the line is that all the candidates above the line actually have a registered party. Below the line, this is in the federal election, below the line it's just a cook's breakfast. You go from 1 to 100 or something. There is no chance that anyone will ever get anywhere below the line. Below the line is a waste of time, a waste of money, a waste of revenue, a waste of everything. So, you know, a few of the Freedom Party people, which I've been associated with a few of them, they think they're going to vote below the line. Well, forget it, right, folks? Just forget voting below the line. If you want to throw your vote away, and you may as well just put a cigarette lighter underneath your voting paper and burn it, if you're going to vote below the line. Now, above the line is the only way to go to get change. Now, how do we? I know Dutton's going to get in. How long he remains in, God only knows. The Liberal Party will probably change him. Ideally, the only person I see in the Liberals as a true leader is Andrew Hastie, you know, the SAS major in Western Australia. He's the future. Well, I don't know how far away that is, but definitely the Liberals will change if Andrew Hastie becomes the leader. But with Dutton, I mean, it's like more of the same. So Dutton's a reasonable sort of guy and all that, local Brisbane lad, but ex-copper. But the point is that, you know, I don't see him as a future leader of Australia, quite frankly, even if he does become the Prime Minister. So how do we implement changes to the current agenda to align with the golden age of USA now under President Donald Trump? And the answer is you put 10 strong men and perhaps women into the Senate. So the Senate is the way we produce the Donald Trump in Australia. You see, we've got a different political system, and I'm not going to make this video too long. I've got to remind myself. So in the US, you know, the president is like, he's got executive powers over everything, just about it. You know, so he's in charge of the Army and Air Force and all this. But in Australia, the Prime Minister, you think, okay, the Prime Minister's in charge of the country. He sort of is, but he's just the front or the face of a party. So in Australia, you've got a big committee running the show. So you've got the big committee, which is called, you know, say, I'll give you an example, the Liberal Party, the big committee, and the front man is the Prime Minister. Now, the Liberal Party can vote the Prime Minister or change him at any time. So he's just the front man. So you're dealing with a big bureaucracy. And most of them there are only worried about their positions in their pay and their golden handshake when they finish. They're not worried about Australia. If they did, the policies would be different immediately. So this is the plan going forward. It's all written down on my website, riseupaustraliabrisbane.com. Go to the Election 25 page and I've got it written down there. Number one, always a vote above the line. Above the line for 2025 federal election. Forget below the line. You just might as well burn your vote, right? Throw it in the barbecue on Australia Day or something like that. Forget about it. Now, above the line, number one, where's my finger there? No, it's the opposite here. Okay. Number one, put Liberal, Labor, Greens in the same basket right at the end of the voting line. So in other words, when you see above the line, immediately just put Liberal, Labor and Greens at the end, because you've got to vote 1 to 6 or 1 to 8 or whatever it is, right? So if it would say 1 to 10, you'd put excuse me, you'd put Greens as 10, Labor as 9, and then Liberals as 8, right? So that puts them at the end of above the line. So that means none of your preferences are going to go to them. Now, for change to happen in this country, we need 10 strong men into the Senate. My advice is, okay, number one, I'll be voting for Senator Jared Rennick as number one. He has the blueprint, the financial blueprint with solutions to problems to change the economy of Australia. Now, number two, I personally would vote for Senator Malcolm Roberts, even though I'm a member of Jared Rennick's party. I'm a great mate of Senator Roberts as well. Two great men. Let's get them both in, I say, right? And number three, it would probably be in the order of, say, Senator Babette, and 4, 5, 6 could be, you know, the independent parties, only if they have the policies that align with, you know, Senator Rennick, One Nation, United Australia Party, very similar policies. As long as their policies ultimately align with the Donald Trump golden age policy mandate. Because no matter which way you try and think about it, Donald Trump's mandate, and who's got the mandate of the most powerful nation in the world, which we're the close allies of, well, we were, instead we got, when we had Labor in, that sort of differentiated and they aligned with China or something, but now, today, we have the greatest opportunity to change Australia and make it great again, to use Donald Trump's words. And to do that, you see, the thing is, why I'm doing this and focusing on the political and business agenda this year is that this particular election, which will probably be the end of March, beginning of April, federal election in Australia, is the most important federal election that Australia has ever seen. Now, you want change, you want to turn around Australia from being in debt to being in surplus. You know, when we used to ride on the, like, I'm 70 this year, so I know what it was like in the 70s and 80s, you know, when Australia was prosperous basically, and I know it's gone downhill for many years. But the reversal, the great so-called stop reset into positivity, is here. It's today. It's this year. And I'm telling you, the only way to do it is put 10, whoever you're voting for. I'm voting for Senator Rennick. Then 2, my preference is going to Senator Malcolm Roberts. And 3, probably Senator Babette, and 1 of United Australia Party. And we'll see what other independents get their party registered. But I know for certain, the one thing I will be doing is putting Liberals, Nationals, Labor, Greens dead last above the line. And if you do that, they don't get any preferences. So a lot of people complained to me last election. They said, oh, you know, how come the independents didn't get in? And well, of course they're not going to get in. They're below the line. You just got to understand the probabilities of how an election works. So that's Graham Healy. Happy Australia Day. We've got big things to come. We want the same. We want to ride on the the policies of Donald Trump, and the only way to do that is vote the senators who have got those policies already. They haven't made them up overnight, like Senator Rennick has these policies. He hasn't made them up overnight. They were the same policies, you know, over the term he was in, has been in the Senate. And he stood up against the mandates, same as Malcolm Roberts. They stood up against the mandates. They stood up against Fauci et al., who's got a pardon from that criminal Biden. And you see all the people who were guilty of all the stuff that you didn't know anything about all got pardons for some reason. So, you know, God, I hope a few more people have woken up along the way on how everyone's been gaslit over the last 4 years. I'm not going to go on about that. That's a whole different video. But this focus today is for the election coming up, end of March, beginning of April, federal Australian election. Align yourself with the Donald Trump policies. That way we can make Australia great again, build the Bradford irrigation scheme, stop these refundables immediately, get the coal-fired power stations up and running, maybe nuclear, could be thorium. There's a whole lot of options there that are safe options, and that's Graham Healy, over and out. And remember, this is a great opportunity to change, and especially change the woke agenda. I'm sick and tired. I don't know about you guys, I think the majority of Australia, I'm sick and tired of the woke agenda. I don't want to see the woke agenda in our schools. I don't want to see them flying little, rainbow flags on the government buildings and all the rest of it. The minority, the very, very small minority, can go back in the cupboard for all I care. At the end of the day, we want to see the majority of Australians, and yes, we are a multicultural nation, right, but we want to see everyone with work. We want to see prosperity happening. Now, how are you going to increase prosperity? I'm telling you, Senator Jared Rennick has the blueprint. Go onto his website, have a look on my website, riseupaustraliabrisbane.com, click on to People First Party, read the policies. Read the policies. There's the solution. Senator Rennick will immediately start infrastructure bank. Infrastructure, building roads and all that, taking that back to government control, where it actually supplies jobs for people and brings that capital back into Australia. There's a great plan, there's a great blueprint there. So we've got to make this happen, and the only way of making it happen is put the Liberal, Labor and Greens last on above the line, remember? Okay, go onto my website to see that full explanation. I sort of ranted on a little bit longer than I thought I would, but Graham Healy, over and out. And as far as what I'm going to do, basically I'm supporting the independents, and if I get the opportunity to run for the Senate, I will, as part of the independent bloc. And just imagine, here's the final game. Say you get 10 independent senators into the Senate in the next federal election. They become a collective Donald Trump. That's how you do it. And if you don't do that, you wind up with Peter Dutton going down the climate accord and the WHO agenda, the softer version of Albo et al. That's what you're facing. Okay? Graham Healy, over and out. I'm sure you don't want that. Have a great day. Have a great Australia Day, and I'll be talking to you soon.